In December 2017, the 1988 film Die Hard was selected by the United States Library of Congress for preservation in the National Film Registry. The cinematic adaptation of Roderick Thorpe's 1979 novel Nothing Lasts Forever was deemed culturally significant. The film tells the story of New York police detective John McClane when he's caught up in a terrorist takeover of a Los Angeles skyscraper. When the film went into production, expectations were low. Star of the film, Bruce Willis, wasn't a box office commodity, and agents were warning actors that it wasn't going to be a good movie. Still, the film struck a nerve, largely because, at the time, action films with lightheartedness hadn't really been made. Ultimately, it played all summer and became iconic as a rare example of a film in which pretty much everything is perfect. Despite mixed reviews, the film soon became both a financial success and cultural phenomenon, thanks to John McTiernan's masterful direction and the career-defining performances of Bruce Willis and Alan Rickman. Ultimately, Die Hard would revitalize the action genre, largely due to its depiction of the protagonist McClane as fallible both personally and professionally, serving as a vulnerable, relatable hero who sustains lasting damage, in stark contrast to the invincible, muscular stars of other action films of the era. Similarly, Rickman's portrayal of the film's main villain, Hans Gruber, redefined action villains who had previously typically been either one-dimensional figures who were either bland or eccentric madmen. In contrast, Gruber was an educated, intelligent villain, serving as the perfect antithesis of the film's unusually well-defined hero. But Rickman wasn't the only iconic villain in the film. There's also Ellis, the sleazy, coke-addicted businessman, who perfectly embodied the destructive self-indulgence of the 80s corporate world. Although the character only appears in a few scenes, he either steals or enhances every second he's on screen. Die Hard launched a number of people's careers, who'd go on and be seen on film and television screens throughout the 80s and 90s. However, the actor behind the iconic performance of Ellis seemed to disappear, despite his obvious talent. At the very least, you'd think he'd have been typecast and popped up in a number of film and television roles, basically playing the same character. Rather, the career of the man behind Ellis took a number of unlikely turns, with opportunities for a number of successes and failures that, ultimately, allowed him to fulfill his childhood dream over the course of his remarkable, though largely understated, Hollywood career. Nowadays, Hart Bochner is known as an actor, filmmaker, screenwriter, and producer. However, he's best recognized as an actor, and probably always will be, despite his various accomplishments in other fields, because of his iconic role as Ellis. Bochner was born in Toronto, Canada. His mother was a concert pianist, while his father was character actor Lloyd Bochner, whose career spanned from the 1950s to the 1990s, and included notable work on iconic TV series Dynasty, The Twilight Zone, and Batman the Animated Series. Due to his father's work in Hollywood, Bochner was raised largely in California. However, despite his father's success in the television industry, he wasn't the reason Bochner pursued a career in acting. Furthermore, even though his greatest success has been in the field of acting, directing has always been Bochner's true passion, dating back to his childhood. He wanted to become a filmmaker since the age of 10. His inspiration came from his baseball coach, Jerry Paris, who initially gained fame as an actor, though later received industry recognition for directing 237 of the 255 episodes of the TV series Happy Days about the life of the Cunningham family in the 50s, which ran for 11 seasons between January 1974 to July 1984. Paris also directed the second and third installments of the Police Academy franchise, about the respective misadventures of new recruits to the force, the 1985 film Police Academy 2, Their First Assignment, and 1986's Police Academy 3, Back in Training. Ultimately, Bochner's acting career was largely accidental, due mostly to his appearance, combined with a chance meeting. Bochner made his debut as an actor when he was a freshman in college. At the time, he was studying archaeology, though he was seriously considering switching to filmmaking. Serendipitously, the wife of Franklin J. Schaffner noticed Bochner during an open house at the American Film Institute and asked for his name. At the time, Schaffner held significant sway in the film industry, having made the classic films 1968's Planet of the Apes about an astronaut crew who crash-land on a strange planet in the distant future, and the 1970 film Patton about the U.S. General George S. Patton. About a month after the chance meeting with Schaffner's wife, Bochner got a call from Paramount Pictures to audition for a role. The film was a cinematic adaptation of Ernest Hemingway's 1970 novel Islands in the Stream about a reclusive artist. Bochner took leave of college for a semester to shoot the film. In the feature, Bochner plays the protagonist's son, opposite Hollywood legend George C. Scott. The film was released in 1977, after which Bochner returned to his studies. Literally the day after he graduated from UC San Diego with a Bachelor of Arts degree in literature in 1978, Bochner was offered the role in his second feature film, the 1979 comedy drama, Breaking Away, about a group of teenage males after they graduate high school. The film was a critical success and won the 1979 Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay after it was nominated in 4 categories, including Best Picture. Although Bochner wasn't one of the leads in the film, its success got him noticed and led to numerous other roles in film and television. Notably, in 1981, he starred opposite Jacqueline Bisset in Rich and Famous, about 2 women when their friendship is tested. In the film, Bochner plays a young reporter from Rolling Stone. In 1984, Bochner appeared in the second film written by future Hollywood legend Cameron Crowe, The Wildlife, about a high school wrestler who spends most of his time partying. Also in 1984, Bochner appeared to have made his big break when he got the role of the love interest for the titular character in the movie Supergirl, the 4th installment of the original Superman franchise. Despite its potential, the film flopped financially and critically, so much so that it was nominated for 2 Golden Raspberry Awards. Bochner continued taking bit roles in film and television over the next few years before landing his iconic role in Die Hard.
I figure you're here to negotiate, am I right?
You're amazing. You figured this all out already.
Much like his first ever feature film, in Islands in the Stream, Bochner got the role of Ellis due largely to sheer dumb luck. In the case of Die Hard, Bochner got his role because he was friends with movie mogul Joel Silver. Shockingly, as iconic and pitch perfect as Bochner's performance of Ellis is, his depiction almost never made it to screen. When Bochner arrived on set, he hadn't spoken to McTiernan, specifically in regards to how exactly the character should look and the motivations behind his actions. And when McTiernan saw Bochner's interpretation, he hated it, even Bochner's decision to grow a beard for the role. Ultimately, Bochner's take on the character of Ellis was that he was driven, at his core, by insecurity, which manifested into him being ridiculously obnoxious.
Hey, John Boy.
So, Bochner interpreted Ellis's behavior as being due to his coke usage, which he used as a mask to cover his insecurity. With this in mind, Bochner played the role fast and loose, which caused McTiernan to pull him aside and question everything he was doing. McTiernan only changed his mind about Bochner's creative choices after he saw Silver laughing at Bochner's performance on playback. After discussing Bochner's interpretation with Silver, McTiernan told Bochner to do what he wanted, and from that point, Bochner made the role his own, and cinematic history. Fittingly, given that McTiernan hated what Bochner was doing with the character of Ellis, the character's most iconic line was ad-libbed.
Hans, Bobby, I'm your white knight.
Upon first reading the script, Bochner was baffled as to why Ellis would negotiate with a cold, meticulous murderer as Gruber, as if they were family. But Bochner's creative choices, combined with his talent as an actor, made the scene and Ellis's motivation believable, leading to one of the film's most iconic and celebrated scenes in the movie.
John.
Bochner followed up his iconic appearance in Die Hard by starring in the 1988 cult classic Apartment Zero, about an American expatriate in Argentina who is suspected of committing a series of political assassinations. Bochner's next big role was in a miniseries, War and Remembrance, the television adaptation of the 1978 novel by Herman Wouk, which covers the period of time between America entering World War II after the Pearl Harbor bombing in December 1941 to the day after the bombing in Hiroshima in August 1945. The series aired from November 1988 to May 1989. Throughout the 90s, Bochner had numerous roles in film and television as both leading and supporting characters. Regardless of Bochner's performances, most of his projects received mixed reviews at best, as his once promising acting career, with his legitimate acting talent and classic leading man good looks, seemed to be headed nowhere. Not that that bothered Bochner all that much, as his experience and connections in the entertainment industry eventually led to him fulfilling his childhood dream of directing not 1 but 2 feature films in the 90s. Although he had initially wanted to go straight into directing, Bochner later realized that being an actor was the best preparation he could have had in his path to fulfilling his childhood dream of being a filmmaker. Being an actor himself, Bochner found that he was able to understand an actor's mindset and help them with the respective characters' motivations. Eventually, Bochner realized his dream of directing after writing and directing a short film in 1992 entitled The Buzz, starring his friend, comedian Jon Lovitz. Soon, Bochner was offered the chance to direct a feature film, the 1994 cult classic, PCU, an over-the-top parody of a college in which political correctness has gone crazy.
Politically correct, and it's not just politics, it's everything. It's what you eat, it's what you wear, and it's what you say. And if you don't watch yourself, you can get in a buttload of trouble.
Bochner was then offered the chance to re-team with Jon Lovitz and direct the 1996 film High School High, a parody movie about idealistic teachers being confronted with a class of cynical teenagers, such as the 1995 film Dangerous Minds. Ultimately, High School High did reasonably well financially, but was panned by critics. Despite his passion for directing and his relative success in the field, Bochner wouldn't get the chance to direct again until over a decade later. After High School High, Bochner focused his attention back on acting, appearing in a variety of film and television roles, mostly as a supporting character, though he did come very close to landing a leading role on a hit TV series in 2000. For the 8th season of The X-Files, star of the show David Duchovny effectively left the series. In his place, a new character was created, John Doggett. Ultimately, Robert Patrick got the role. At the time, Patrick was best known for his role as the time-traveling killing machine, the T-1000, in the 1991 sci-fi action film Terminator 2: Judgment Day. However, Bochner was originally in the running to play Doggett. He was never given an explanation as to why he was overlooked, though he later speculated that it was because he and Duchovny were good friends, with strikingly similar looks and personalities, which probably led the show's producers to want to go with someone totally different. Eventually, in 2008, after decades in the film industry, Bochner realized his dream of both writing and directing a feature film, with the movie Just Add Water, a romantic comedy about a decent guy with a dead-end life in a dead-end town who chooses to pursue his dreams. Though it received mixed reviews, Bochner has said that the end result is the closest he's come to realizing his vision as a filmmaker. After the film, Bochner focused his attention back on acting. However, later, between 2017 and 2021, Bochner found consistent work as director for television, directing multiple episodes of the crime drama series NCIS New Orleans. Despite his respectable Hollywood career as both an actor and director, Bochner has also had a significant impact on the industry off-screen in an unlikely way due to something else he's been passionate about since he was a child. Bochner has always been passionate about the environment and green living, so much so that, in 2008, he was named as the greenest celebrity in Hollywood by Time magazine, given that he's so committed to the cause that he owns a hydrogen-powered car. Additionally, since 2000, Bochner has been a board member of the Environmental Media Association, the EMA. The objective of the group is to get Hollywood productions to be as green as possible by awarding the group's Green Seal badge of approval to productions that follow environmentally friendly practices on set, given that most TV and film productions are energy intensive and historically indifferent to any long-term environmental impact they have. As a child, Bochner grew up in Santa Monica and went to school 45 minutes away in the valley. Back in those days, the air was incredibly polluted, as there was leaded gasoline and no emissions control. As a result, Bochner would come home every day wheezing, which made him acutely aware of the fact that people were slowly but surely poisoning themselves. As an adult, Bochner first became involved in the environmental movement in the late 80s. Originally, he wanted to join the EMA, but for whatever reason, they wouldn't accept him. So, in response, he started a competing organization, with the objective of the two groups eventually merging. However, the woman he was running it with didn't want to merge. So, ultimately, Bochner chose to resign from the very organization that he founded, and eventually got involved with the EMA. Bochner came up with the idea of the Green Seal badge in 2004. He figured that the organization needed a good housekeeping seal of approval that they could stamp on productions that hit certain criteria for green sets and environmentally responsible practices on productions. Nowadays, every year, the organization has hundreds of productions that hit the EMA's targets. With his talent and classic leading man good looks, Bochner seemed certain to become a star throughout the 80s and 90s. Then he played Ellis in Die Hard, and it became difficult to see him as anything but the ultimate two-faced villain that everyone loved to hate. And it would have been easy for Bochner to allow himself to be typecast and keep playing smug, obnoxious characters for the rest of his career for easy paychecks. Rather, he not only chose to challenge himself as an actor by taking on a variety of different roles, but he also never gave up on his dream to direct, proving that his success in the industry is due to his legitimate, multifaceted talents. Furthermore, due to his work off-screen with the EMA, his impact has been and will continue to be felt in the film and television industry for generations, even if he's best remembered for a single performance.
I can give them to you.
Bobby, I'm your white knight.